Well, good morning, everyone. It is fantastic to see you. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and we are recording this meeting so that we can share it with those who were not able to join. And before we get started, Kelly, I wonder, could you share the agenda so it's all fresh on everyone's mind?
Yep,
Either
I
in
was
the
actually
chat
in the
or...
process. You're reading my
Oh,
mind.
you're so good. So smart. So great. Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
So let's take a glance at the agenda and we'll open with prayer in just a minute. So this morning we will open with prayer. We will introduce ourselves with a brief prompt. We will talk about the purpose of our gathering and discuss some graduation benchmarks and logistical details. Kelly's going to tell us about the learning focus for year B, since I know that the learning focus for year A is probably still fresh on your minds. Maybe it's been a year and that's okay. And models fun with Kahoot. Kelly made a fun little Kahoot game that's going to be a nice way for us to refresh ourselves on those models that you learned a year ago. Then some final reminders and closing prayer. And this meeting will last no longer than an hour, and it'll be okay if it goes a little bit short. Is there anything that any of you feel we need to add to the agenda before we get started? Looks good. All right. Well, my name is Canon Juliana Capoletti Gray. I am delighted to be with all of you. I know that I've met some of you, but not all of you. It's good to see your faces. Let's take a minute and wherever we are, let's share a moment of prayer. Let's take a few moments of silence. And I invite you in this time of silence to call to mind your home church, your home community, the place where you worship. As we open, I'm going to open with a prayer, a thanksgiving for the mission of the church, and keeping in mind gratitude for all of the places of worship where we gather. Almighty God, you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to reconcile the world to yourself. We praise you and bless you for those whom you have sent in the power of the Spirit to preach the gospel to all nations. We praise you and bless you for all of the places of worship all over the earth, especially those places of worship in the Diocese of Indianapolis. We thank you that in all parts of the earth, a community of love has been gathered together by prayer and labor, and in every place your servants call upon your name. For the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours, Jesus Christ, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
All right, as we begin, let's, by mutual invitation, invite each other to check in. As we do, please share your name, your home church, and one positive memory you have from CCD Year A, just in one sentence. It can be big or small, favorite model, favorite meal, favorite ridiculous joke, whatever it is. I'll share first. My name is Juliana. I guess I don't actually exactly have a home church community at this moment. I'm joining you from Sewanee, Tennessee, but I'm in the process of moving fully to Indianapolis. And a positive memory I have from year A actually was just last week. I just literally went last week to the Diocese of Olympia, where Jen Phelps also was. And a positive memory I have was getting to see the mountains when the clouds would clear in Washington. Sometimes they just shone like the sun, and it was glorious. It was a beautiful surprise. Carla, would you be willing to check in?
Sure. Carla Bowerman from St. John's in Lafayette. And I really just enjoyed meeting everyone because I'm newer to the church. So getting to meet a lot of people that way.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. Who would you like to invite to say hello?
I will invite Anne.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I'm Ann Loveco. I am from Good Samaritan Episcopal Church in Brownsburg. And I agree with, it was fun to meet everybody. I really enjoyed our small group sessions and getting to develop relationships with the others in our group, and have seen at least one since the time that we went to CCD. So that was my favorite memory.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne.
I will invite Margaret.
I'm Margaret, or Maggie McClure, and I attend St. John's Church in Lafayette with Carla. And my favorite memory is the a cappella singing during worship. I just found it so beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I will invite Connie.
Hi, I'm Connie Turner. I go to Grace Church in Muncie, Indiana. And probably my favorite thing was just getting to know Father Paul and Catherine better, the two that I had gone with, and that was wonderful. And I just really enjoyed the experience. Looking forward to this year.
Wonderful.
And I'm sorry, I lost my connection for a while, so I missed a couple of folks. I'm not sure who is gone. If somebody else could just step up.
Sure. How about you, Don? I see you right there.
Sure, I'm Don Apgar. I worship at St. Christopher's in Carmel, Indiana, and really enjoyed part one. It was great to meet folks from all around the diocese. We recently moved here from New York in 2021, so just getting settled in the diocese, and it was just great to meet so many great people from various parishes. So looking forward to this year.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. Do you remember who you could invite, who you've not heard from?
Well, I'm going to have to invite Lynn.
Smart man.
Thanks. I'm Lynn Apgar. I worship at St. Christopher's in Carmel. I'm going to say meeting everyone. I have to do a little shout out for Connie there, who really impressed me.
Nice.
Because I kind of felt like we were kindred spirits on the thing starting out. And am I looking forward to this year? No, not really. I'm really not. Not looking forward to this at all. So I'm going to do it, and I'll do the best I can, but I'm not really looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your perseverance and your honesty and your willingness to show up this morning. And
Thanks.
who would you like to have check in, Lynn?
I don't know. Anybody that wants to go next, go ahead.
How about Jen Phelps?
Sure.
Hi there. I'm Jen Phelps, and my memory from year A was it was in the summer of 2021, and we were just coming out of COVID, and it was one of the first times that we were able to do congregational singing again. And so that a cappella singing that Maggie mentioned just it is so beautiful in our diocese to begin with, but it had that additional just relief and joy with it. So that was my year A memory. With that, I am going to invite Bradley.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bradley Pace. I'm from St. John's in Lafayette with Maggie and Carla, and also Jason. My favorite memory was sitting with Jason and making side.
Hey, Brad, we're having a hard time hearing you, bud.
I'm sorry. Hold on, my mic's on the wrong side, or wrong mic. There we
can
go.
hear you some. It's just a little quiet. But go ahead.
Sorry, I switched my microphone.
My
favorite memory really was sitting with Jason and making side comments the whole week, but we'll keep those between us. No, I really enjoyed working with the folks from St. Mary's Martinsville. They were going through some difficult times, and we had a really great like they came out of this with some really good energy, and then like what I've heard since then have really done some good stuff coming out of CCD, and it was just really great to see.
Awesome. Thank you, Bradley.
And I'll invite Jason.
I knew I should have gone before my beloved rector because he said exactly the two things that I was going to say. But I will also add to those, which I was legit both going to say. I really enjoyed spending time with the person who turned out to be the future Bishop of Southern Ohio. I don't know about you all, but when we gave her that final round of applause for leading us, it felt final. I felt a thing, and turns out that was the thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to wrapping this up and doing some light reading. Kelly, did you do your thing yet? Are you the last one? You want to fire away?
Sure. Thank you, Jason. So I'm Kelly Nixon, pronoun she, her. I wear a couple hats. I'm on the bishop staff, but I'm also a member at St. Timothy's Episcopal Church on the South Side, which is the congregational group that I did CCD with. My favorite memory from year A, Jen actually stole it because I was going to say that too. I took that the same year when we were just coming out of COVID. But as a close second, I really liked the Myers-Briggs Day. I felt, and I see, this is divisive, I see, but I felt really seen by it, and it gave me a lot of good introspection to do about how I handle stress. And so I felt like it was a really worthwhile day to see that about myself, and then also how that works with the team that I was with too. So.
Fantastic. I love it. Great. Well, thank you all for checking in. I feel like we're going to see lots of good conversations launching off from this point and into year B. This is great to hear where these connections have already been. Kelly, would you be willing to go ahead and walk us through the logistical details? I'm so grateful to be working with Kelly, who is so good with detail.
Well, thank you. I'll go ahead and do a screen share because we're going to basically walk through the document that has been sent out relatively recently, and you may or may not have had a chance to look through it. But we'll walk through each of the graduation benchmarks sort of one by one, talk through it a little bit, and then as you have questions, please interrupt me or ask, because this time is for you to be able to get clarity on things that you may be wondering about or have questions about. So just to verify, everyone can see the graduation benchmarks document on the share screen. Yes, thank you. Okay. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to skip over some of these initial paragraphs, the message from Bishop Jennifer. I trust that you all will read that in your own good time. And we're going to walk through the 4 requirements or benchmarks for graduation one by one. So number 1, the first thing that we require for graduation is that you've completed both years of curriculum. So this year is year B. I think the majority, if not all of you on this call, took your year A curriculum last year, though I'm aware that I think we have at least one, maybe a couple folks who plan to attend who actually did their year A curriculum back in 2021 or did it in a different diocese. So just an awareness that if for some reason between now and July, something happens and you're not able to attend, the next time that Indy Dio would offer year B curriculum would be in 2026. So you could either wait until then or go to a different diocese to complete that year B, but you do need one of each year. So for most of you, not an issue. You did year A last year, you're doing year B this year. But if you had questions or again, if anything came up before this summer and you couldn't attend this year, we would be happy to help you with finding year B curriculum in order to do that completion. As it writes there, for parishes to qualify for mission strategy grants, we just expect completion of those 2 years as well. So that's just an add-on to that requirement. Any questions about the completion of the 2 years or anything there that folks are wondering? Okay. Sounds good. Thing 2 on our list is the completion of a congregational project, or you may have heard the term intervention, and an accompanying report. So at the end of CCD last year, you were given some information and some time to plan a project with your team to take home and to do, and then to write a report afterward. So our original due date for the projects to be completed and the reports to be submitted was back in December. And I believe everybody who submitted a report should have now gotten feedback from our office on that. If this was not on your radar at all, and you're sitting at your desk going, oh no, I didn't do this. I didn't submit a report, or we did a project, but I never submitted my own personal report. Maybe my team members did. It's really not too late, and we would be happy to still accept reports. You can still do a project if you have not done a project or intervention yet. We are over a month out from CCD, and so I don't want anybody to feel panicky if this is sounding like something that hasn't been done quite yet. We're happy to work with you. Interventions and projects don't have to be super enormous multi-month things. So just to know that if that's something that has not yet been completed, you still have time. We can talk through things with you or ideas with you if that is still something that you need to do. The report form is linked in this PDF. So again, you should already have this as an attachment to an earlier email. So if you need to access that report form, you'll just click on that link and it will bring that up for you. And you'll be able to see the kinds of reflections and information that we're hoping to see back. I will pause here because I've been talking quite a bit about this. What questions do you have, or is there anyone that's sort of wondering about this piece of things?
So Kelly, were we supposed to get some kind of formal feedback on that project, like an email? Or I know that I discussed it once or twice on some of our check-in calls, but I don't recall ever seeing a kind of a formal, here's what we think of what you submitted kind of a thing.
Don, I thought I had sent you an email. It would have come from me. Let me check for it and I can resend it to you. And but you should have gotten something. I'll check that.
Let me check.
Okay.
I second that. I'm not sure that I got something, and I don't know if I haven't heard from the other members of the church that they got something as well. Do you know about when that would have been sent?
It was this spring. It was later than it should have been, but it was maybe April-ish. So I'll check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great. Would it be helpful if we kind of circled back for all the projects briefly? Margaret, I see you nodding maybe. Yeah. And Connie? Okay. And Carla, maybe? I mean, I know it's been a while. So we will do that. It'd be good for me as well, since I'm new. I'd love to, I'll take a little time and read the projects so I have a sense for some of what you've done. I'd love to just take the opportunity with this pause. My sense with these projects is that they're intended to support you in helping to initiate what you felt the Spirit leading you to do in your parish that might be the next right thing that you were called to help initiate with others. Would any of you feel comfortable saying in just a sentence, like what that initiative was?
Sure.
Thanks. Yeah. So what'd you do?
So we wanted to look at ways to make food-based fellowship events easier to execute. And so in a nutshell, we incorporated a couple of different models, none of whom I remember the names of, but we polled the parish, we gathered information, we collected feedback, we analyzed the feedback, we presented it to the Connections Committee in our parish, who was kind of the brainstorm for parish events. And we were able to kind of adjust the direction of the kinds of things that we do at the parish. Basically, including more smaller ad hoc kind of events and fewer. The research indicated the parish was equally amenable to smaller, less produced events than typical, high cost, high catered events. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I thought it was a good project.
Sounds really practical. Thank you, Don. Could one other person share their project in just a brief nutshell?
I can speak for Good Sam because it's an interesting project. So we are in the process of working on building a building called the Village Hub that incorporates multiple partners. And what the three of us came up with at CCD was a plan to have cottage conversations with as many people in the parish as we could get to come, and also, you know, hand out questionnaires about what are you interested, what's important to you. We conducted eight different conversations in September and October of last year. Got a lot of good feedback. We had a parishioner who's in a master's program at IUPUI. I'm not totally sure what her degree program is, but she offered to compile the data into a report for us, and that was amazing. So we got through that first step, and I think that's going to be important in information to use in trying to get grants. And I'm kind of a little adjunct to the Village Hub committee. We're working on kind of getting that back together, but I know that they have started on seeking bids for a design for the Village Hub. So hopefully by the time we get to CCD, I just had some text with Jim that we will have kind of a little update on where we are with that, but we at least got the ball rolling.
Fantastic. What a wonderful project as well. That's just great. That's great. All right. Thank you all for sharing. It helps to just hear a little bit about kind of the snapshots of where these things have taken root in your communities. I see that Jen has responded with some follow-up stuff. And so our team will circle back to make sure that we've provided the follow-up that you need, and maybe just resend those emails. I know it's easy to get some of this stuff lost. Thanks. Carry on, Kelly.
All righty. Well, thank you again to those of you that brought up that you were needing that information again, or those reports. So thanks. That's helpful. All right. So we are halfway through our list here. We're on number 3. So one of the graduation benchmarks is the required reading list. And so there was a longer list that was included in your manual. I believe it's page 14, if my memory serves me correctly, but don't quote me on that, where it listed out various readings, some of which are required and some of which are just recommended as good resources for you to continue in your education around CCD, the models, and some of the learning. But in particular, there were 5 things that were considered required for graduation. And those are listed here on this sheet. The first 2 are ones that you interacted with already as part of the Year A material. In fact, I believe you have copies of those. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, because you have already interacted with those materials and worked with those materials, you're always welcome to review them, but we would consider these completed already since you worked with them in Year A. The 3 additional ones are books that we have in our possession at the diocese, our office. A People Called Episcopalians, Facilitating with Ease, or Great Meetings, Great Results. You can choose either of them. You don't have to do both. And then Seeking God, the Way of St. Benedict, part of that Benedictine life model. So just so you know, we have all of these in our possession. We are happy to loan them out. The expectation is not for you to have to go out and spend a whole lot of your personal money or congregation's money in order to afford these texts and have them available. We will bring all of our resources to Waycross with us in July. So if there are books that you have not had a chance to look at or read, and maybe loaning them out in this next month isn't possible, you'll be able to leaf through them and look at them at Waycross, check them out there. This is all on honor system, and it's just meant to sort of expand your knowledge beyond what's covered during that week. There's already so many things that are assigned to you while you're at Waycross that we don't want to add these things necessarily to that, which is why this list is presented to you ahead of time. But during the week that you're there, these will be there as well for you to take a look at. And I think at this time, I just got my little checkout list here. I think Good Sam's, that your team has a couple of these, at least maybe 2 or 3 things checked out at the moment. But for those of you that would be interested, I encourage you to email me, or you can email Jen Phelps even too. And we both kind of have eyes on that library and can work to make sure that you can get some copies if you need them. And again, there's no test given on this content. So I just want to reiterate, this is all honor system. There's not a report that you have to write at the end. There's not an online quiz you have to take. Nothing's graded. It's just that the CCD program has determined these are really helpful texts for you to know as you move forward past this program. Jen, anything else that you would add here?
I think I would say that we have diocesan staff. It travels to the four corners of the diocese all the time. And so, you know, we can drop things off, you know, if you give us enough time. It may not be tomorrow or, you know, but within a couple of weeks, we are usually in many corners of the diocese. So, you know, never hesitate to reach out to us, and we can try and get a book to you.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah. So are there questions about, you know, these 5 materials specifically, reading list in general, what this requirement might look like? Anything that folks are wondering here? All right, cool.
I see Good Samaritan has joined us. Hello, Father Jim said. Welcome.
Hello. Sorry.
Glad you're with us. No problem. We're just walking through the graduation benchmarks here.
Mm-hmm. All right, excellent. We just finished talking about number 3, Father Jim. So talking about the reading list. So that brings us to our final one, which I know we've received some questions about recently, and maybe you have some questions about today, which is the completion of the models exam. So the exam is structured as a fill-in-the-blank exam. So basically it is the sort of sticks and structures of the models, and none of the labels are there, and it is your job to remember what those labels are and to be able to fill in those models. We really want to stress that we don't want this to cause a lot of anxiety, because it's not a one and done test. It is something that is offered throughout the week that you will be there in July. You can take it as many times as you like. Most people need to take it at least a couple times, a few times. I can't remember how many times I took it because it is a lot of memorization, but the more you take it, the more you retain and the better you do the next time. And so we provide blank tests. You know exactly what's on it ahead of time. I sent a digital copy of that in one of the earlier emails, but we will have paper forms, paper copies of that at Waycross in July. And so you are welcome to grab a blank form and do a test run. You can create a study guide for yourself to have in your room or to take with you as you walk around during the day. We will provide as much as we can to try to ease this part of the requirements. There is zero judgment for people making multiple attempts, because honestly, that's normal, that's common, that's usual. It would honestly be a little weird if you got it one and done, because that's not typical. So the link for that models exam is here. So you can look at it ahead of time. You can kind of start familiarizing yourself or refamiliarizing yourself with the models in this next month. As I said, blank ones will be available at Waycross so that you can use as a study guide, or to say, you know what, I'm going to pretend I'm taking the test right now and I'm going to try to see what I know. And then you can see, hey, you know what? These 4 blanks, I really had no idea. I should probably go back and study that model. Okay. I think that covers what's here. But again, I want to open this up for questions, because I feel like after some of our earlier emails, this was maybe where there were some concerns or some wonders.
I have a question. I apologize if you've already answered this. Do we have a project? Do we have to formally write up our project further than we have already? Did you already talk about that?
Just a little bit, yes. So our second requirement, and I'll scroll back up here.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. So the project or intervention that Good Sam's did in the fall, I believe that you had already submitted your report for that. And so whatever you submitted in December, that fulfills that requirement. There's not a second component to it or anything like more involved as a follow-up that we're requiring for graduation. So as long as you did that back in the fall or December, which I believe that you did, Father Jim.
We did.
Then you should be good, and that's checked off already. Yeah, there's nothing further. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we had just said too, if you're not sure if you got follow-up, we invited folks to email. So Jen was kind of emailing out to a couple folks some of the feedback that was given. So we talked about it a little bit, but I think everyone's on the right page here for it.
Thank you.
Jen, thanks for resending that. I did get the email, but I never got it originally back in November. Right? It's lost in the ether somewhere.
There are things that I cannot explain in this world. Some are spiritual, some are not.
Most are technical.
It's the mystery of cyberspace.
That's right.
It's good
Nobody knows where these things go.
Good to have the follow-up for sure. Well, I'm feeling like everybody understands this whole models exam and whatnot. I'm excited about the Kahoot. I actually don't love tests and quizzes myself, but I love that all of you are lifelong learners, which means you're in this voluntarily. So I say we just go ahead and float that Kahoot, Kelly.
Okay. Oh, one other detail that I'm realizing was not on here that also might help ease some anxiety. There are 70 total blanks on the models exam, and I know that sounds like quite a lot, but a lot of our models have multiple blanks in them. You only need 55 of those. Okay, so you don't have to get a perfect 70 out of 70 to pass. The most recent version of the manual has said that 55 or above is a passing score. So just know it does not have to be perfect. So hopefully
is it an open book or a closed book exam?
It is closed book because a lot of it is memorization of the labels of those models. But again, you can take it as much as you'd like and practice and look at the study guide right before you sit down to do it.
Gotcha. And it's actually like paper and pencil.
Yes.
Don't you all like pencils and paper?
I do.
Yeah, I think for what it's worth, I think they missed the mark on this exam because instead of making it a straight memorization thing, this is like I feel like I'm back in middle school, trying to remember historical dates of when Columbus sailed to America. It would be better if this was something like where they show you the model and they say this model is best used in these circumstances or these attributes. In my mind, the test doesn't really do anything to foster understanding and application of the model. I mean, it's just straight memorization, and it's frankly something I'm absolutely terrible at. So, so that's my agenda.
Thank you for sharing. And yes, I get it. No one enjoys reliving middle school.
Feedback for what it's worth.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
But that's what they did with some of the Greek alphabet test in seminary. You could take it as many times as you want until you got all 26 of the Greek alphabet letters done. And I'm grateful for the numerous times that they allowed me to take that test.
And how many of those characters can you remember today? I mean, I know alpha, beta, and omega, but that's it.
There you go. Good job. Alpha, beta, omega, chi. I don't know. But I have used the alpha and the omega the most.
The beginning and the end, right?
All right. I'm looking at the agenda. So, Juliana, would you like for me to talk about learning focus for year B first, or should we head straight into the Kahoot?
I feel like we should just do the Kahoot.
Okay. Sounds great.
I think it'll be energizing. It'll be fun. And then we'll talk about the learning focus.
I certainly hope so. I'm going to ask a real quick question. How many of you know what Kahoot is or have used it before? Oh boy, so this is going to be a new experience. Okay. So Kahoot is an online quiz system. I used to be a high school math teacher before I worked for the diocese. And so we would do a lot of reviews on Kahoot. So this is something that I love and enjoy. So I hope you do too. The way that it will work is I will screen share again, and there will be questions that pop up as we go along on that shared screen. And you will log in either on a phone if you have one, or like an iPad, something like that would work. Or if you don't have a separate device from the laptop or computer that you're using, you can also use your computer. You will just need to do side-by-side screens, one for the question and one for where you're going to be answering the question. So I'm going to put in a link for you to go to here in just a second, and a code so that you can access the quiz online. Here we go.
So this is easy to use if you have a smartphone, or you can use your laptop or your device that you're on if you need to.
Correct, yes. So I'm putting the website into the chat. So it's www.kahoot.it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, because you will see near the top a game pin, which is a 7-digit set of numbers. And that will allow you to tell the website that this is the quiz you're accessing. Once you do that, you can put in a nickname, your first name, something silly. You can imagine when I was teaching high schoolers, I got a lot of really fun nicknames.
Yeah, feel free to use an alias.
Mm-hmm. And if this makes you uncomfortable and you're like, you know what, Kelly, I'm not sure that I necessarily feel like going through all these steps, I'll just watch. That's okay too. So just know we would love for everyone to participate. It's kind of a fun little thing. But if this stresses you out and you just kind of want to watch and play along from home, that's fine too. I see non-rude name.
Thank you. Thank you. The only one they could come up with.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So if you haven't gotten it yet, that website is Kahoot, KAHOOT.IT.
As folks are continuing to sign in, just to kind of give you a sense for what this will look like, the questions are multiple choice. And I believe all of the questions have 4 choices. So you'll want to make sure that you read through those first before you select one. Again, you'll select your answer on whatever device you've just logged into. So whether that's a smartphone, a tablet, or if it's on the same computer, all of those work. If you are using the same computer, just make sure you can see my screen as well as your screen to be able to answer the questions. The faster that you answer, as long as it's a correct answer, the more points you get. So this gets a little competitive. To people who answer both the same and both correctly, the person who answered first will end up getting more points. So if you have a competitive drive, just know that in advance. Juliana and I tested this out yesterday, and I forgot to tell her that. And she goes, we got the same answer. Why do you have more points? So I'm letting you know ahead of time so that you know that sort of quirk about it.
But you're going to try to read it and encourage people to answer at the same time.
Yes.
So reading ahead doesn't necessarily earn you anything.
All right. So I feel like we've got probably most folks, but I want to just make sure anyone still trying to log in that hasn't had success getting here yet. All right. So I'm feeling like we're probably good to go. We'll do as much of this as we can. We may not get through the whole quiz just based on time, because as Juliana promised, we want to make sure that we don't keep you beyond our hour. But this will just sort of get the juices flowing a little bit to remind you of some of the models. And you know what? If you come away from this and go, wow, I don't remember that model at all, well, then now you know, and you've got some time to prepare. Okay. Any questions before we start? All right, here we go. All right, question 1. What is the name of this model, which tells you the words in blanks 1, 2, and 3? And hint, this is the first model you probably learned. Stop, drop, and roll, welcome, worship, wander, snap, crackle, and pop, or gather, transform, send.
See, this is the kind of exam we should have for the models exam.
Ah, there you go.
This is my speed right here.
I really wanted to say snap, crackle, pop. I just think I appreciate that.
Very good. So gather, transform, send. This is a lovely model because the answers are the title of the model itself. So if you can remember the title, you can remember the blanks on this one. Very good. All right, we've got our totals. Looks like CB was the fastest. Very good. All right, next question. In the gather, transform, send model, what is the fourth part that connects send back to gather? Is it brainstorm, context, reporting, or feedback? All right. This one was a little bit tougher, but that fourth blank is context. So I did put feedback, which is a little bit tricky because this does look like a feedback loop, but context is what allows us to go from being sent out and coming back to figure out how we can gather well. Okay. Very good. New totals. There we go. Next question. Put the following components of the gather model in the correct order from first to last. Invite, orient, incorporate, greet. Greet, invite, orient, incorporate. Invite, greet, orient, incorporate. Or incorporate, orient, greet, then invite. Well, that was a little quick. I probably should have given you more time on that one.
I was almost there. I was too slow.
Yeah. So this is sort of a submodel for gather, transform, send. So we consider gathering in 4 series of steps. And the correct order was this sort of yellowy orange answer. We invite first, we greet, then we orient them to our parishes or our way of life in the parish, and then we incorporate them into leadership roles, into whatever ministry they're feeling called to. Okay. All right. Next one. Well, I think we're moving to a new model now. Or no, I spoke too soon. I think there's a little more left. Yep. Gather, transform, send. We're sent in 5 ways: family life, work life, church life, creation, and which one? Education, society and civic life, adventure, or beach life. That was a super fast one, but look at all of you rock stars. Yeah, we're sent into society and civic life too. All right. Well, look at this. CB, fire. Ooh. Well done, CB. Here we go. Next question. Which of the following is not part of the overall sources of transformation model? Looks a little like a peace sign. Is it meditation, prayer and worship, action, or study and learning? Which one does not belong in this model? Okay. Meditation.
It's a little tricky because for many people, meditation is part of their prayer and worship practice, but
correct. Yep, it kind of gets lumped in there. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what the 4th one is, because there's technically 4 here. Anyone got it? It's been a minute. I think it's life and community was the other one. So that was not part of this list, but that is part of the model. All right. Next one had some movement down here. Conversation, silence and listening, and food are all components of which source of transformation? Is it study and learning, prayer and worship, life and community, or action? All right, pretty good. So in our overall model, each of these goes into sort of subcategories. And so conversation, silence and listening, and food are all subcategories of this life and community component of the model. All right. Big Don and non-rude name moving up. Very good. Mind, heart, and practice are all components of which source of transformation? So again, is it study and learning, prayer and worship, life and community, or action? All right, it was an even split between our first two answers here. One could argue mind, heart, and practice are in both of these. But in terms of the model, we say that those are the main components in this study and learning piece of things. Prayer and worship is, I think, perhaps what we're going to talk through in one of the next questions. Non-rude. Oh, 1 point difference. Woo. Here we go. Which of the following is not one of the sources of transformation under the action category? Is it evangelism, service, forgiveness, or stewardship? Which is not one of the sources of transformation in the action category? Okay, forgiveness. So forgiveness is very important. It can be transformative, but in terms of our model and the action category, the other three are the ones that are listed, not forgiveness. Okay. All right, some upward movement. Next question. The sources of transformation in the prayer and worship category are Holy Eucharist, personal prayer, and what third thing? The Psalms, journaling, the lectionary, or the daily office? All right, the daily office. Well done, 100%. Yep. Holy Eucharist, personal prayer, and the daily office. Okay. And I saw in the chat, Father Jim, did you get kicked out?
I guess, do they only show the top 5? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't show the
I figured
full.
it out after I did that.
Okay. Just wanted to double check. All right. Moving to the next question. In the faith development and community model, which of the following is the label for the outside ring of the circle? This has 4 rings to it. I want to know what's on the outside ring. Mature practitioners, vicariously connected, occasional attenders, or Sunday sacramentalists. All right. Vicariously connected. So for those that may not remember this model super well, these are different layers of how connected a person is to your parish or in what ways they're connected. So in the center, we tend to have those mature practitioners who are really part of the rock of the church, right? They're there all the time. They're in leadership positions. And then it sort of moves outward, and vicariously connected are those who maybe are familiar with our building or are around in some way, but perhaps aren't quite as invested in the inner workings of the church as this middle level. All levels are important though, and that's important in the model. All right. We'll do maybe a couple, 2 or 3 more questions. I don't think we'll be able to get through the whole thing time-wise, but let's do a couple more here. Which of these is not a component of the Benedictine life model? Obedience, conversion of life, stability, and humility. Which is not a component. Okay. So this one's across the board. These all sound like they might or might not be part of this. So there are 3 components. Sorry, what, Juliana?
I said that's a little tricky, this one. This is
It
no
is.
snap,
It is a bit
crackle,
tricky.
pop throwaway here.
Yeah. I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back because I wrote this question. So I ended up tricking a couple of you, a few of you. But yeah, humility is not technically part of that model. It is the other 3 that are listed here.
Although it is very important, isn't it?
Yes. Still important, just not technically filling in the blanks with that one on this model. So. All right. In the life cycle of organizations model, what stage lies between decline and death and would require outside intervention? So it's this space on the model. Is it disintegration, conflict, closure, or grief? What goes between decline and death and requires outside intervention? Okay. Again, this one's a little bit tricky because they all sound sort of similar, but disintegration is technically what we say when we are sort of in a state of decline that is headed towards perhaps the death of our church or death of our organization or program, whatever the case may be that we're looking at and applying this model to. Okay, it usually requires that outside intervention. All right. What do you think, Juliana? One more, maybe?
Let's do one more. And I can understand how some people said conflict for that one.
Yeah.
Because I do disintegration periods are marked by conflict.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right, next one and last one for the sake of time. In the life cycle model, congregations who are stable but stagnant should pursue ongoing renewal and what other part of this label? Revitalization, development, brainstorming, or caffeine? All right. 6th guy, right? That's pretty good. Revitalization is what goes in that blank there. It's a little bit alliterative. So renewal and revitalization both go in that space to help you go back to sort of this formation piece of the model. Cool. So our final results, CB with 8,860. Well done. And good job to all of you. Thank you for participating. It has been almost a full year. So the fact that you have points is a success. Well done. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome. Okay.
Well, we have just a few more minutes, and we wanted to draw your attention to the focus on year B, which is all about neighborhood and context, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, year A tends to be a bit more inwardly focused. So the materials that you did last year had you look at, Myers-Briggs and how you personally work or how your team works together, and working on a congregational project sort of internally. The focus of year B tends to be more outward. So if you had a chance to look at the sort of small assignment that we're asking folks to do ahead of our time together in July, it involves going and sort of walking the neighborhood around your parish or being in community and sort of seeing what's outside your 4 walls and reflecting and noticing that. During this year, so in July when you're at Waycross, there will be a day where there's congregational site visits where you're asked to go and actually visit a parish that is within driving distance of Waycross, and to do some reflection and some observations there as well. And there's even a geographical map activity where you map out things that are around your parish. So just sort of know in advance that this year is going to be a lot more about sort of projecting outward and looking outward. Jen, I'll sort of call on you. I'm putting you on the spot, but is there more to add to that or anything else that you would like to talk about in terms of year B?
No, I think that's a beautiful summary of it. So well done. Yeah,
Cool.
I think it really captures the difference between the 2 years.
Cool. Thank you. Any questions about what's coming up in July in terms of the curriculum and how it might look the same or different as last year?
Is the format is going to be about the same format? Obviously, the venue is the same, right?
Yes, yes. So it's still going to be plenary sessions with learning. There will be review of the models, because for some, this is actually their first year attending. So I know for you all, it's a second year and this is review. But we will have people participating who this is the first time they're seeing the models. So there will be a lot of review, a lot of going back through those together as a group. But still small group work, facilitation skills, those same components from last year, but just with a slightly different focus. Again, sort of looking more external or outwardly as opposed to internally. Yeah.
I will say that the team has read all of the feedback that was received from last year. And so while we still have to get through a lot of the same materials that everyone always has to get through to make year B a sufficient, program, know that there is responsiveness on behalf of the team. And Liz Titchener, who's the interim director this year, is always working hard to adapt the program to meet the needs of the participants. So I think it'll essentially be what you remember, but maybe with a few tweaks to help it be more comfortable or paced in a way that feels a little bit more human. We heard a lot of feedback that maybe just longer breaks, stretch breaks, that sort of thing would be helpful for you. And we do want you to go back to your parishes feeling alive and vital and excited and not mostly exhausted.
And I like Jason's recommendation, bring a pillow for your backside. Yeah, those chairs can get a little uncomfortable after some time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess with your knowledge come equipped to set up in the wilderness out there and make yourself comfortable. Pillows, lumbar support, I don't know, heating pads, whatever you need. Caffeine, I acknowledge, I said the caffeine at the end of the Kahoot because I knew it wasn't the right answer, but sometimes having adequate caffeine helps. So feel free to bring your favorite, like little, instant coffee or something like that if you don't feel like the Waycross coffee machine is what you need. Because I heard that feedback from some people. Some people like different coffee. That's okay. Bring it. It's okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to close in the chat here with this message that Bishop Jennifer sent to us. We know that you are lifelong learners, and we so deeply appreciate your willingness to keep learning and to participate. So I appreciated her note here. We believe that you are a part of deeply important work as we center the College for Congregational Development in our diocesan life to strengthen and support churches of every size in becoming more healthy, faithful, and sustainable. It is our bishop's hope that in developing a common vocabulary, as we all are now together, that we will increase the vitality of our faith and witness in our diocese. So thank you all so much for your continued commitment to follow Christ and to do it in your home church context. I believe it makes a difference. One more little plug as we close is we do have just a couple spaces that have opened up. If you know anyone in your parish or across the diocese that you would love to have participate in CCD with you this year that you think might benefit from just a personal invitation that I could make, please let me know. I'm happy to pick up the phone and call and invite. I'd love to get these last couple spaces filled up. Well, thank you all, and God bless all of you in your continued work. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions. And let's give Kelly another round of applause for that fantastic Kahoot. Woo, woo. I thought that was really fun. All right, well, I'm going to close the meeting, but feel free to stay on if you have any additional questions. Can't wait to see you all in person in just a month.
Yay.
Yay. Hooray. Bye.